What's up, guys? Ricky here. Today I wanted to talk about my experience training boxing and also having my very first amateur boxing match. It was hands down the wildest experience I've ever had, and I've been skydiving, and skydiving didn't even compare to how wild my first boxing match was. Which is pretty fascinating to think about. So, it all began with I've really enjoyed watching the UFC. I'm a big UFC fan, been watching it for not that long actually, only around maybe, 5 to 7 years or so. A lot of people have been watching UFC for a lot longer. But I love watching UFC and I love watching fights. And I don't know exactly what triggered it necessarily, but for whatever reason I had an itch to try boxing. I really wanted to try martial arts in general and learn some martial arts, but I knew that boxing would be one of the martial arts that I would be able to more easily find a gym for and get better at. Because if you go to an MMA gym in general, there's going to be an expertise for every coach. Like, they may be able to do BJJ, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, or they may be able to do boxing or wrestling or Muay Thai or whatever it may be, but they probably have an expertise. And the gym that I was going to be able to go to had an expertise in boxing. He was a phenomenal boxer. He is a phenomenal boxer, the coach there, the head coach. So for whatever reason, after watching UFC for a while, I just had an itch to try something new, and boxing is what piqued my interest. So it took forever for me to get the courage to just go to a gym all by myself, not knowing anybody there, not knowing the coach, having no friend to go with. I didn't have anybody I necessarily was going to go with. So I think it was like November of 23 is when I was thinking I was gonna do this, November of 2023, and I don't think I actually started going till like 4 months later in February or March of 2024, which is it's kind of funny to me. I eventually did it, and it kind of helped me telling friends and family that I wanted to try boxing and try learning mixed martial arts in general. It kind of helped because when I told them, and then they would follow up and ask me, hey, how's boxing, Eric? Did you ever start boxing? Or they tease me, or you're not going to start doing that. There's no way, or whatever it was. I think that kind of helped me, pushed me a little bit to actually go and start. Go into the gym for the first time was very intimidating. Everybody there was very nice, but it's just such a different environment. Such a different sport, at least for me. I had never participated in anything like that before. I played a lot of soccer growing up, some golf, and all the other sports in general, just a little bit here and there, some basketball and baseball and things like that. But I've never done wrestling or boxing or mixed martial arts of any kind. All my knowledge about mixed martial arts was from just watching the UFC and being a fan of the sport. So the first day I showed up, and coach was super nice. He recognized I was new, and so you could tell he was being extra aware on how to help me and give me extra tips here and there. Obviously, I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't know how to hold my hands. I didn't know what to do with my hands. I didn't know how to punch, whether that was a jab, a cross, a hook, or anything. I didn't know head movement. I didn't know anything, right? And so I quickly learned that. It's kind of funny because watching UFC, you think to yourself, or at least I thought to myself, man, I know a bit about boxing and fighting. Like, I know a little bit. Nah, I didn't know anything. Until you actually try to do the moves, you don't know anything. Until you actually try to punch a heavy bag, you don't really know. You really have to get into it to actually start learning. Just watching it, you're never going to learn. So anyway, good first day. He gave me a bunch of tips here and there of things I could improve on. The training session was only about an hour. And one of the cool things the coach did, though, is he knew that I was really interested. By the way I was talking about it, by the effort that I was showing while we were training, he could tell I was really interested. And so he asked me at the end of the training session, he's like, hey, do you want to hop in the boxing ring we have here and punch a guy? I was like, wait, just punch him? Yeah, he'll just gear up and you can just kind of try and hit him. I'm like, oh, yeah, heck yeah, let's do it. I want to do that. And so the guy geared up, got ready, and he was obviously experienced. And I hopped in the boxing ring with him. There was one or two other people in the gym watching, so I felt a little bit of pressure, especially not knowing what the heck I was doing. And I started trying to punch this guy. And I don't think I landed a single punch on him. And I'm actually pretty athletic and pretty fast in general. I'm not experienced with boxing, I wasn't at that point. But I was pretty fast, and still, nothing was getting through. And I was starting to get really frustrated. I was trying to hit this guy. Another thing that just came to mind is actually when I very first started trying to punch him, it was such a weird switch I had to flip in my brain that I didn't want to hurt him. Now obviously this guy wasn't going to get hurt by anything that I was doing, I know that now. But at the time I didn't want to like throw a punch and maybe hurt the guy or something. It was kind of weird to flip a switch in my brain and say, no, I'm actually going to try and punch this person and try and get my glove to their face. It was kind of a weird switch I had to flip, where I had never hit a person before. I've never been in a fight before. And now all of a sudden it was okay to do so. It was very strange. But anyway, it took me a little bit, maybe a minute or so, and I was finally kind of able to make that switch as I was trying to punch this guy. As I was trying to punch him, I was trying to switch stances. I was trying all kinds of things, throwing a jab across, an uppercut, a hook. I was throwing all the different kinds of punches you could throw at a person, and there ain't nothing getting through. He's moving his head, dodging it, or he was sticking out his hand and blocking it, or parrying it, or nothing was getting through. I don't think I punched him once. Even to the point where you could tell he felt bad for me a little bit, so he kind of just shelled up and then just let me punch him for a minute. I tried to punch him in the gut and all this stuff, and nothing was really getting through. So that's when I learned, yeah, I really, really had no idea what the heck I was doing, right? No idea whatsoever. Well, time went on, and I continued to go to this gym and train boxing pretty much every week. So not that often, right? But pretty much every week for close to a year. There were some times when I hadn't gone to the gym for 3 weeks or so. But generally speaking, I was going pretty regularly almost every single week and trying to learn better technique and try and get faster and get stronger and develop my cardio so that I could be strong enough and last long enough in an actual match. Because my goal, when I first started going, my goal wasn't to have an amateur boxing match. But after I had gone for about 6 months, I really wanted to try it. I really wanted to get in there and try it. Mind you, I had never sparred before. I had never experienced anything like that, really. The closest thing I had experienced at that point was trying to punch this guy in the boxing ring. That was pretty much it. But after training for a while, I really wanted to just try it. And so I made it up. I made that decision. And I told myself, hey, I'm going to try this. And so I'd ask all kinds of questions. And in October is when at my boxing gym, they would have a fight night, where that's when you can have your amateur boxing match at your home gym. And at this particular gym, it's actually a huge event. Like there's a lot of people. So I made my decision and said, yeah, I'm gonna do it. So I asked the coach, I told him I wanted to do it. He told me what I would need to do. So I had to register with USA Boxing. Go on their website and pay their fee to be registered as an amateur boxer with them. So I did that, and I continued to train. And even though I would only go into the gym once a week, I knew I was so inexperienced that I needed to practice way more than that. And so I got my own heavy bag and I hung it up on a tree branch in my backyard, and I just started punching that thing, trying different combinations, trying different defense techniques, trying to visualize what I was going to do in my first boxing match, right? I did that a lot. And honestly, my cardio got really, really good. It is surprising to people who have never boxed that if you go and box for 30 seconds, you'll be amazed at how tired you'll get. It is mind-blowing, especially if it's a spar or a match, right? If you ever spar somebody, the average person will probably gas out in like 20 to 40 seconds. That sounds ridiculous. A lot of times people hear that and say, there's no way I could go 5 minutes. No, you can't. You would not be able to go 5 minutes. I promise you. Even if you're in great athletic shape, it's something different. It's just a different beast. Because at that time too, I was in pretty good athletic shape. Like I was running, for an example, I would run half-mile runs, and I would run like a 7:30, so fast. Not like crazy fast, but fast. I'd be breathing a little bit heavy, but I mean, I could do like a 7-minute 30-second mile. So I was pretty athletic. But anyway, boxing is just brutal. The amount of conditioning it takes on your whole body to have cardio good enough to last even a minute or two in a spar or a boxing match, it's wild. But anyway, I would create kind of practice sessions for myself. So in amateur boxing, typically the rounds are only between like a minute and 2 minutes actually. And so I would set a timer for 2 minutes, and then I would simulate like 3 rounds and just try and make sure I was staying active, punching the heavy bag in my backyard, trying to make sure my cardio would be up to par and I'd be able to actually handle something in an actual boxing match. So kind of the next step for me is I knew I was going to have to practice sparring. Now sparring is very weird for me personally because it's people that are your friends at the gym. It's people that you're friendly with, that you enjoy talking to. They're not your opponent, they're your teammate. It's a very weird psychological thing for me, at least, of trying to get in there and hurt each other, because ultimately that's the goal, right? When you're in a spar or sparring match, whatever you want to call it, you're ultimately trying to hurt each other. And when it's your teammate, you're not trying to hurt them bad. You're not trying to knock out their lights or anything, but you got to be fast enough so that you can connect with them. And you gotta connect with them. You gotta punch them, whether it's in the gut or the face. You gotta go for it. And sparring was really hard for me that way because I almost would kind of pull my punches a little bit, or I'd be a little bit slower because I couldn't. It was hard for me to get over actually trying to punch them. Whereas with my amateur boxing match, that wasn't a problem at all because it was an unknown person. I had no idea who they were. That was my goal. That was my objective. That was the event. That's why I was there. Whereas sparring, it's a little bit more strange that way because it's kind of practicing with your teammates, and I didn't want to hurt any teammates or anything. It's kind of weird. But anyway, I remember my very first spar with a teammate, and this teammate had already had a couple amateur boxing matches of his own, so fairly experienced, far more experienced than I was, right? And man, I had never been punched in the face before my first spar, and it is weird. It doesn't hurt as much as you might think, but I would describe it as like really quick mini blackouts almost. So as soon as you get hit in the head, it's kind of like, it's a little bit more than just blinking your eyes, but it's kind of like a flash of like unconsciousness really quick. It's kind of how I would describe it. Not every time, but the harder hits, that's kind of what happened. I don't know if that's normal or not. That's my experience. But headshots didn't really hurt. They kind of make you feel woozy or dizzy if you got hit hard enough. And then again, that flash of blackness where you kind of lose consciousness for a very split second is kind of how I describe it. But what did hurt were body shots. Man, the first body shots on me, whether it was like the solar plexus or even the side ribs, those hurt a lot. And my very first spar, holy crap, after 1 minute, I was done for. I had never been so exhausted in my life, because you're in this tiny little ring where this other guy is trying to hurt you. And even though he's my teammate, he's taking it easy, it still hurts, right? It still hurts a ton. Those body shots, the solar plexus shots, it all hurt a lot. The head shots, not so much. One time when I sparred, I got hit in the nose, pretty square on. That hurt quite a bit. Another time sparring, I got hit right on the ear, right on the side of the ear. So the pressure pushed my eardrum in and my ears were ringing. That was sucked too. That same spar match, it was actually both ears. So after that day, my ears were just ringing. I couldn't really hear very well. So anyway, I had only sparred like 4 times before my amateur boxing match, which is probably uncommon. Obviously, it depends on the person, but I didn't have that much experience, right? I had been watching YouTube videos galore, trying to learn better techniques, learn strategies, how to better myself and become a good boxer and win my first amateur match. That was my goal, and I was determined. Now, as I got closer to the match itself, I was feeling some nerves for sure. There were some times where I actually would have like nightmares, pretty unrealistic, but I'd have like a nightmare where I'd get punched so hard I'd be coughing blood up or peeing blood. Like, that's, at one point I had that fear, and it's very unrealistic but maybe plausible. Nonetheless, I was pretty terrified for what was going to happen. But again, I purposefully kind of told a lot of people, my family, my friends, that I was going to try this thing out, do this thing. And because I was telling them, man, I was locked in. I'm going to do it. I've told people in my life that I'm going to have this amateur boxing match, right? So I'm going to do it. No matter what. That's what I told myself. I'm going to do this. So I even had tried to lose a bit of weight to help me fight somebody that weighed less as well. Because in boxing, as I would imagine you'd know, there are weight classes, and the lighter you are, the lighter your opponent's going to be. That's good. I didn't want to fight somebody at the time. I was like 210, 220 pounds or so. And I dropped down to about 190 over the course of that year when I made the decision I was going to have an amateur boxing match. So I dropped like 20-ish pounds, somewhere around there, just to try and make sure I was fighting somebody that was at least a bit lighter, to give me some kind of an advantage, to try and make sure I was properly prepared. As I got closer to the match, I kept telling my coach that I wanted to do it, and he even had a concern at one point when it was getting pretty close to the match. He's like, I don't know if I'm going to have a fight for you. I don't know if you should fight, because he actually had never seen me spar, crazily enough. Every time I sparred against who was that teacher that day, and it wasn't necessarily him. So I had sparred like 3 or 4 times, but he was never there to actually even see me spar. So my coach just put full faith in me and my determination, saying, I'm ready, I want to fight, I want to have a boxing match. He's like, all right, let's do it. So I'm very grateful for him for putting that faith in me. Obviously, as a coach, worst case scenario, if I was getting my butt whooped in there, he could just throw the towel and help me from getting too beat up, right? So he wasn't too concerned either. So he let me have my first amateur boxing match. Now, the day of my match, guys, this was an experience. This was wild. So I was at my gym. I drive to my gym. I have to weigh in. It's like I have to weigh in about 2 hours before all the boxing matches start. So I show up, and that whole day I wanted to make sure my stomach wasn't full, but I had something in there to give me some sort of energy. So I only ate oatmeal. I ate some oatmeal for breakfast, and I ate some oatmeal for lunch, and then I had weigh-ins at 2 p.m. So I go in to the gym and I weigh in, and guys, there are chairs everywhere. Like, this place is gonna be packed. Off the top of my head, thinking about how many chairs, like maybe like 1,000 people. I don't know, 500 to 1,000 people. A lot of people. are going to be packed in this gym in here in just a minute. So this particular gym that I'm going to is actually very popular. It's been around for a while in my area, and so it's one of the biggest fight nights in the state, I think, from a standpoint of a lot of boxers show up. I think there was like, what was there? There was like 20 fights, 2 guys each, like 40 boxers, 40 amateur boxers, somewhere around there, showed up to have a boxing match this night. In fact, because there were so many, they actually reduced our rounds to just like a minute. Each round was only 1 minute long for the more amateur guys, the guys that hadn't had a fight or had less than like 5 boxing matches. Our rounds were only going to be 1 minute. So anyway, I show up, weigh in, and this kind of bugged me about USA Boxing. This was my experience. They had my passbook that I needed in order to box that day. They never mailed it back to me. They just said, I'll hold on to it. When I submitted my registration for USA Boxing and paid for my passbook, they just said, oh, we'll just hold on to it and we'll bring it to the event for you. Well, even like 2 or 3 days before the boxing match day, I texted them and said, hey, please don't forget my passbook. Well, they never responded. And guess what? The day of, after I weighed in, they didn't have my passbook. I was ticked off. That was so unprofessional, and neither one of them had it, and neither one of them knew where it was, and it was just a mess. So fortunately, they had all these extra passbooks, but I had to get this new passbook, and then I had to go home because there was no printer anywhere, and I had to print off a little picture of myself and glue it in the passbook, and I was so mad. That's ridiculous. I haven't had a good experience with USA Boxing. They're very unorganized, in my opinion, and I'm glad they sanctioned the event so that we could have refs there and judges there. But man, I don't know. I wish they could be more organized. Maybe it's a volunteer job and they don't even get paid. I don't know. I'm just stating what I observed. So I had to do that, and that really ticked me off because I was trying to get my mind in the zone, get ready for my amateur fight, right? So I had to do that, and then I come back, and it's just hangout time. It's hangout time, warm-up time. You're just in the gym while all the other boxing matches are starting and happening. You're just in kind of a back room, and you can warm up and move around, maybe eat a little bit of a snack, or you can go and watch the matches. And so I watched a bunch of the guys that were fighting for my gym, watched their fights and whatnot. And my family was coming. That was really cool. I'd introduce them to the gym and show them where they could sit. We had a cool little area where anybody that was family or friends of the boxers had a designated area, a really good view of the ring. So that was really cool to see all my family come out, and man, all my family came out. Boxing is such a unique thing and such a kind of wild event, I guess, that even cousins and stuff would come out to watch me box. It's kind of wild. It was really cool to have all that support there, and I could sit there with them and watch these other boxing matches and talk about it. At this point, my hands had already been wrapped up, right? They've been signed by a ref. I'm ready to go. I'm just waiting. I didn't feel nervous. I didn't feel nervous at all, actually. And I think a lot of that had to do with visualizing what I was going to do. And I told myself, I am going to win this match, or I am going to never back down and just get my butt whooped if that's the case. But I am going to give it my all. You break my nose, okay, whatever. I get knocked out, okay, whatever. I am gonna go in there and try my hardest and do my best to try and win this boxing match. And maybe I'll get some pain out of it, whatever. I'm gonna go in there and try to win this match no matter what. So I told myself those things, and I think that helped. I did a lot of visualization. Most days I'd be picturing where I'm at. Most days prior to the match, I'd be picturing visualizing where I would be in the ring, what I was going to do first, what I was going to do if he did this, what I was going to do if he did that, my opponent in the boxing match, just trying to do a lot of visualizing of what it would be like. And even days after training at the gym, I would go in the ring and just practice what I was going to do, practice moving around the ring, practice different combinations and different things to do depending on what my opponent's doing. So I felt very prepared, and I kind of just told myself, like, whatever happens, happens. And so for whatever reason, I guess that was enough for me to not feel nervous, because I seriously didn't feel nervous. I wouldn't really let myself think about it too much right beforehand. So I'm just keeping track of who's boxing and where I'm at. I was like number 15 or whatever of the night. I think maybe I was sooner. Maybe it was like number 10 or whatever. But anyway, okay, number 8. Okay, it's getting closer now. I got to start breaking a sweat. So I'm in the warm-up room and I'm practicing with my coach, hitting the mitts, warming up, getting my body sweating so that I'm properly warm before I hop in the ring. And then it was a little bit chaotic, like right beforehand, because in the warm-up room you couldn't really hear the announcer very well, and so we are actually like a little bit late. Not really, but we were kind of warming up, and I'm like, crap, I think I need to go to the ring. And nobody really said anything, so I started walking there, and sure enough, my opponent was already in the ring. I don't think they had waited too much, but holy crap, I didn't like that. So I had to kind of push through the crowd actually a little bit and climb up into the ring. And I don't think they had to wait too long, but it felt rushed. And then I heard my coach, he needed a towel or something, so he had to like run away. So I was just by myself, like getting up into the ring, getting ready to start my first boxing match. He had to go and get a towel or something. And then one of the things I had practiced and what I was going to do is I was going to keep moving. And so if you guys watch my video of my boxing debut, as soon as I got in the ring, I was bouncing on my toes. And I was doing that because I didn't want to start feeling nervous. And so I wouldn't let myself stand still and really contemplate and start thinking about what I was actually doing. I was just focused on bouncing around. Woo! Here we go. Bouncing around, bouncing. Like I wouldn't let myself really think about what was about to happen. In fact, even to the point where the ref calls us to the center and like, you're just supposed to stand there and listen to his instructions, and I just kind of kept bouncing. I'm like, no, I didn't want to stop moving. I was scared that if I stopped moving, I'd start to feel nervous, and so I didn't want to stop moving. So I announced my name, stick my hands up in the air. Hell yeah, let's go, baby, let's go. It is go time, and I am very proud of this. If you watch my boxing debut video, the very first thing I did, I practiced so many times. And I'm so proud of myself that I executed it. So as soon as the bell rings and the boxing match starts, I was gonna walk forward relatively quickly and jab the guy right on the chin. And in doing so, he's gonna be throwing a jab back. That's very common. I slipped my head to the right and down and jabbed him right in his face. And in doing so, I knew I was probably going to dodge his jab and I was going to land a jab right on his chin. Sure enough, that's exactly what happened. Man, that felt good. As soon as I did that, I was like, oh, hell yeah, I got this, baby. Here we go. Kept fighting. And just a few seconds later, he landed his first punch on my head. And those that know me, my family and friends, they might know this about me if they've ever seen me get really mad. But as soon as he hit me once, it was kind of hard. It didn't hurt, but it kind of stunned me, a little bit. You get that, again, the way I described it is like that quick flash of consciousness. I was pissed off as soon as he hit me once. I had a surge of adrenaline and got pissed off. I did not want any of that. So my adrenaline dumped hard right after he did that, and I started walking him down and throwing huge, not technical, they weren't very good because they were just huge, slow, but wide. I was trying to knock the guy out with my right hook. I was going for it. I was not going to stop until this guy got knocked out. That's what I was thinking. I was pissed off he landed a punch on me, which is funny because obviously that was going to happen. But in the moment, my adrenaline dumped and I got mad and I came after him. And after that, there are there were a few moments where I was still doing pretty good, but there was one moment, I think it was in the second round, where he landed on my chin pretty good, and that one stunned me more than normal. And so I kind of was stumbling back, and then he landed another one as I was stumbling back, and that stunned me even more. And then he landed another one. He landed 3 on my chin in a row, to the point where I was stumbling back and landed in the ropes, and that really stunned me. I obviously never lost consciousness for a long time or anything. I was still conscious, but it stunned me to the point where I didn't feel like I could really ever get anything going after that happened. And my coach was telling me to slip to the outside and stay on the outside and slip to the outside. And so I was trying to do that. And so honestly, in like round 3, I was kind of just trying to avoid him, because I thought that's what my coach was asking me to do. I thought he was trying to ask me to stay on the outside of the ring and kind of slip to avoid him. But because I wasn't really fighting back too much in that third round, the ref just called it. I think it was after the first round, I got hit a few times, and the ref even paused it and counted because he thought I was getting hit too many times. I'm like, no, dude, I'm good. Let's go. Same thing happened in the second round. I was getting hit quite a bit, and so the ref paused it and counted for me. And it's like, no, dude, I'm good. Like, I want to fight. Let's keep going. And I'm proud of myself that I kept going, because I told myself if I were to give up in that situation, I'd be very disappointed in myself. I knew even if I was getting my butt whooped, that's what I really wanted to do, was just, I'm not backing down. I'm going to fight till I get knocked out or the ref stops it. I will not stop. That's what I told myself, and that's what I wanted to do. So I was proud of myself for doing that. It was the wildest experience that I've ever had. Afterwards, and actually in like the third round, my nose was bleeding. Honestly, that was like a cool feeling, because it didn't hurt that bad. It was weird. My nose didn't hurt at all, but I did notice that like blood was literally dripping down onto the boxing match in the third round, and my nose was jacked up, I'm sure. But it was kind of cool. Like when I saw that, actually, I'm like, oh frig, I'm getting hurt. That's all right. Oh well. Just kind of kept going. But yeah, I lost. It sucks, but I lost. Honestly, it was pretty. As soon as I felt the fight not going my way, and I could tell that I was starting to fade and I was starting to lose the match, honestly, I could hear in the audience that everyone got quiet. So all my family and friends that were initially cheering for me were just kind of watching, right? And they're still rooting me on, like, go Eric, and trying, but you could tell they got quiet. And honestly, it was like a soul-crushing disappointment, is how I would describe it. It was brutal. That almost was worse than the pain I felt. It's just, I felt like I disappointed my family. I wanted to give them a cool show. I wanted to knock a guy out or dominate somebody or something. And so I felt very disappointed in myself as soon as I felt like I was losing that fight, which was probably like a little bit near the end of round 1. It was not really going my way. But again, I am proud of myself that I just kept going, and I wasn't going to give up. The last thing I wanted to share that was really wild to me is after the boxing match, I go over to the boxer's room and warm-up room, and I sit down, and the most overwhelming urge and desire to take a nap came over me. And at this point, I'm still like fuzzy. I was never unconscious, but I was like fuzzy. It definitely felt weird, and I wanted to take a nap. I sat in that chair, and I would have fallen asleep in the chair. I would have fallen asleep standing up. I wanted to sleep so bad, so bad. That was super strange. Googling it afterwards, that's actually apparently pretty normal. Once you have such an adrenaline surge, so during the boxing match, my adrenaline got so high that afterwards your body's just trying to like, what the heck just happened? We need a rest or something. What was that? We just expended so much energy. We gotta like rest or something. So apparently that's why I had that super strong urge to take a nap. I didn't want to eat. I didn't want to do anything. My family even planned to like maybe go out to dinner or something afterwards. And obviously if it was going to be a quick match and somehow I knocked out the guy or something, maybe that could have happened. But obviously I got beat up so much, I didn't want to do anything. I wanted to go home and relax. That is my experience of what it was like to have your first amateur boxing match. It was wild. I never felt more adrenaline in my life. And like I said at the beginning of the video, I went skydiving, and skydiving wasn't nearly as much of an adrenaline rush as a boxing match. So if you're looking for an adrenaline rush, think about boxing if that's something you're interested in, because holy crap, having a boxing match, that was an adrenaline rush. It was wild. And I'm very glad I did it, and maybe I'll do it again one day in the future. I want to protect my brain, so I don't want to do it too much, but who knows? Maybe I'll do it again. Do you guys think I should do it again? Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Please subscribe to my channel. I'm really trying to grow this thing, and I'm not going to stop till it grows. Thanks, guys. Have a good one.